Hey my Shuga Bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, OGJackeeNicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get to the commentary where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo?
Welcome, Black y'all. You are tuned in to the Bougie AF channel. It's your girl, OGJackeeNicole, where I say stay bougie on them, and I'm serving you feminism for the soul. Check me on them people's Instagram at BougieAF_ish, then also on Twitter at I'm_bougie_AF. So let's get into it. So there's always so much going on, and I was just sitting here trying to figure out like how I wanted to open up this video. And I know there's just like if I opened up Clubhouse right now, there's so much conversation. Of course, religion is always a conversation. You know, the atheists always have a room. The Hebrew Israelites always having rooms where they're, doing scripture going back and forth, which now I am actually thinking that these are just like little miniature verses battles in terms of the Bible, where everyone's just grabbing their favorite scripture and going back and forth. That's where I've come to. It's great entertainment for me, like really. But I also, as much as I'm like being, cheeky and making fun and saying it's great entertainment, I've also come to the realization that the way the Black community, and specifically Black, I'm gonna always speak Black, the way we use the Bible is really interesting. It's really cut and paste. There's no, when you read a book, you read it from beginning to end, right? And the way people will just go to scripture and grab scripture, a certain specific type of scripture, and it could be 3 or 4 lines, and then use it in their rebuttal. But then what gets lost is all the context that scripture encapsulates, that it's a part of, right? And how it really could be speaking to something else. But because people choose to use it in a way that will like support their argument, it just loses the context of like maybe why that scripture exists, and it could be for something completely different. But those who just have an understanding of the Bible for themselves would know that. But if you're, getting your understanding of the Bible through other people, and then you kind of go on, you kind of go through life looking at scripture and how it's been framed for you, and you use it in that type of way. So I go into those rooms, and they're always really interesting. And I'll sit in religious rooms all the time. The Christian religious rooms are interesting too. Yeah, I'd be all over the place. Like I said, don't ever infer anything from where you see me at. I'll be in a poly room, just sitting there listening. I'll be in a Muslim room. Islam room, just sitting there listening, right? I just believe you just can get education everywhere. And also because religion, especially, because religion is what it is within the Black community, it's a really big deal, good or bad, or however you feel about it. You can't help but try to study our relationship with it and how it plays a role within our community. So I do spend a lot of time trying to understand, understand how we socialize, but then, how we socialize with this. So it's most definitely something you have to pay attention to. With that being said, there's always those types of rooms. There's always the conspiracy theory rooms. And all right, so lately there's been a lot of conversation, and I've been a part listened to some conversation in some Clubhouse rooms about the whole drag show and bringing your kids to go see drag shows. And I guess this has been popping up in the media, and people having real concern to the point that it is led to officials in Tennessee, I believe it is, to pass legislation to restrict, have some type of age restrictions. Now, the room I was in, it was really, really interesting to see, because this is my frustration sometime with the LGBTQ community. And I have some video going in the background because there are different types of drag shows, and there's just no way that I'm making a general statement or I'm taking a position that say across the board people are exposing their kids to inappropriateness through drag shows. But there are some that are just inappropriate, and I think those should be spoken about and acknowledged. And as much as I'm going to acknowledge the bad, I'm also going to show you some really good ones, right, too, at the same time. But my frustration with the LGBTQ community is that, for them, one no somehow gets turned into as if though you're saying no to who they are as people, as humans, right? And I feel like I should be able to give my opinion about social issues without them feeling as if though someone is saying no to them and who they are and who they choose to have sex with, or even choose to express who they, express themselves, right? And That's not what this is about. And it's frustrating because I think, being black, I think I hear this in the same terms of people will say that sometimes black people make everything about race. And there are those times that I have to be honest and say that there are those times where I can say that we most definitely do make everything about race. And it was so funny. I was in another room and we were talking about snitching, people, getting, telling on their friends and their crimes to get out of jail. So I'm gonna play another video, and this is one of the videos that I'm like, y'all are out of your mind not to think that this is inappropriate. As much as I think Lizzo's big ass shaking all over the place is inappropriate, there's other shit that I think is just equally inappropriate by skinny people, right? All right, so back what I was saying. So I'm in the room. Oh, I'm sorry. So we're talking about YSL, and we're talking about snitching, we're talking about Tekashi 69, I'm sorry. And we were talking, because this is my example of like how everything is not about race, in the same way that, the LGBTQ community will turn everything into discrimination, and you hate the community, you hate the gay community, right? So I'm in the room, we're talking about snitching, and we're talking about 6ix9ine, who, if you don't know, he's a Mexican-American, his family is from Mexico. And he was associated with a gang that is out of, I think it was the Bronx, New York. And this was a predominantly black gang. And if you look at the gang and him, he's the only person who looks like him in this gang. I promise you. So, with that being said, he's a different race. So a lot of people feel as if though he might have, snitched, or he was prone to snitch because he's not from the community, he's not black, and we should expect that. And I'm just sitting there as a black American who knows her history, and even like, I spent a lot of time researching, the underworld gangs and all that other stuff. And I'm also quite aware of all the notorious people that we have that are black American that have been in jams and snitch and stuff like that. I mean, do we not remember Nikki Barnes? Do we not remember Alpo? Like, these are all black people, right? So it was really weird to see that even when it comes to something that is a character trait, that we will always find the race in it, right? And I think, I think when people are used to always being the victim, because they understand that it's how you get results, right? If you are able to position your group, your community in a most vulnerable position, that is going to usually get you what you want, right? So what ends up happening is that you have these issues that where the pronouns and the drag shows are issues that society can weigh in on, because it just does not affect individuals in terms of their sexuality, who you choose to have sex with, who you choose to marry, and all the other stuff are personal, does not affect me in any type of way. But when you start talking about like pronouns and how I have to change my whole way of talking based on your feelings on what you decide to wake up to be today versus tomorrow, you get what I'm saying? Or in terms of like what children have to be exposed to, and yes, exposed to, because it's on the internet and all these other things. And I would hate for this to be a part of, like, if I send my kid to a particular school, and, and it's a really, progressive school, and they are open to, exposing kids to something. I don't necessarily want my kid to go to one of these shows. I don't want my kid, and it has something to do with hate. But again, I'm being consistent on saying I wouldn't want them to go to a burlesque show or anything like that, right? Because those are different forms of sexual, insinuate sex and by the movements and, you know what I mean, how the girl is dressing. Same type of thing. I wouldn't want my kid to go to that, right? I wouldn't. But back to the LGBTQ community, who is quite aware, if they can always make it seem as though they're being attacked for wanting to be themselves, that they most definitely are going to manipulate, and not they're going to garner sympathy. And I just think that's just a tactic that majority of people who are advocating for something it's going to take. Me even advocating for reparations and speaking out for black people, I most definitely have to position my community and talk about how they are impacted by what has happened over the last 300, 400 years or so, right? So I get it. But I'm going to call it out when it feels as if though it's really borderline petty. It's really borderline, It makes people not want to engage, because it seems like you're not engaging honorably, right? Like at the end of the day, if you are in the community and you see what I see on the screen and you think that's appropriate, there's something seriously not well with you, right? Nothing to do with you being gay, but just you just being absurd and wanting to be committed to just taking a position and making it seem as though because you're a part of a community. And so it becomes of like, you say one thing about that person, you say it about us all, and I'm gonna go against what I believe because I don't care. You're saying it about us, right? Like as though like you bring gang mentality to social issues, where you're just not being reasonable and honest about things, just simply being inappropriate. And there's just been times within. Oh, okay. So back to the. I do want to get back to this. I'm sorry. So we're talking about gangs, and they're saying because of Tekashi 69 being Mexican, that it has something to, that's the reason why. So me, I'm in the conversation. I'm actually on stage, very very rare. I'm on stage and I'm like, well, I mean, them people down at them, Georgia and YSL, Woody been talking, and couldn't stop talking, and he's black, you know what I mean? So just being able to actually like make people be like realistic and like really think about what they're saying, because again, there are times that some black people will make everything about race, and I'm just like, no, not this one. We can't do that on this one. I'll let you know. Because I'm someone, I know when it's racial, I know when it's systemic, and I know when it's all of that, but just not this one, right? I mean, the mob, the Italian mob got brought down by people who were in the mob that snitched on it. Like, I mean, let's be real, okay? Snitching is not a racial identifier. It's just not a racial identifier, but there's times that you'll hear some bullshit like, oh, damn, no, we're not doing that right now. Are we? But that's how I be feeling about the LGBTQ community, right? Like, I have to sacrifice letting my child see inappropriateness because you're going to make it seem as though I hate the gay community, right? Even though I advocate, I most definitely am someone who, like, I don't believe I should be able to tell anybody about, like, who they sleep with and all this other stuff. But if I don't like one person, or I don't like somebody in a community, and I'm calling them out for just not liking how they carry themselves, I don't have to respect them. I don't have to just not call them out because they're gay if I have real substance on what I'm standing on and what I believe, right? And that's frustrating to me. That's the most frustrating part, because you can't not just like one person without you just being a hater or you hate the community. I remember early on when I did get on Clubhouse, and like it made me want to just avoid them overall, right? Because I have no time for like that hypersensitive thing where you're just mean. They consider you mean for being, either being able to articulate how you feel about something, or it just not being or agreeing with them, right? And that puts you in this category of being a mean, heartless person, because people are just so codified in just being told what they want to hear because they believe they are trying to garner sympathy, or they're the vulnerable one in whatever they're speaking about. And it's sort of like, okay, you can be all vulnerable all you want, but I may disagree on what you think behind it, right? And that's just literally where I'm at. It's just literally where I'm at with it. I just disagree. The pronoun things is dumb. And I'm gonna stand on that. I don't have to change how I speak and all this other stuff now. At work, I'm most definitely someone who would adhere to policy in place and adhere to referring to people how they want. But in my personal real life and my personal thoughts around it, I think it's dumb, and I'm entitled, and it's okay for me to say that I think it's dumb. I think the gay community really loses a lot of legs to stand on when other people express to them when they don't like something, right? And then it's automatically flipped around as making it seem as though they don't have a choice. A lot of black men, when I'm on Clubhouse, do not like being referred to as cis hetero men, right? And for whatever their reasons, it's their reasons, right? But what you'll find is that there are people who will try to will try to read them down intellectually with all types of like scholarship, as a reason on why they feel as if though they should say what they want to say to that person and address them how they want. And the person is still like, I don't care what the hell you say in terms of in your books or how you define it. I'm telling you, I'm uncomfortable with that. And the same way you feel uncomfortable with someone referring to you either by the wrong pronoun, why is it that you have a problem with respecting someone saying I'm uncomfortable, I don't like it? Because you feel it. Who cares how you feel? Uncomfortable, don't like it. And so that same type of respect is not given. And I don't feel as if though, again, speaking out against pronouns is speaking out against the gay community. It's not the same thing. It's an effective way to get what you want, but you just have to be really smart and be able to push back on it and be like, no, No, get all the dick and whatever you want, wherever you want. That ain't got nothing to do with trying to tell me what I gotta accept. That's where we're at. We're past that. Y'all can get married. When it looks like discrimination, when it looks like oppression and all of the other stuff, I'm gonna be there, right there to scream it for you. But when it's just you just trying to go against accepted social norms in terms of inappropriateness for children, I cannot support that. I think our country is extremely consistent on trying to, and here we do an awful job, but trying to put restrictions on things to protect children. That's always been a part of what we've done. I remember in the 90s in terms of hip hop and people speaking out against the how harmful the lyrics were in hip hop. I mean, we're 30 years, it's 30 years later, and we can say that they were right in terms of like what we see, what music has evolved into, and how harmful some of those past lyrics in terms of talking about women and raping and calling women. That's when it became popular to just disrespect women and call them bitches and stuff. Yeah. Right, so there were rated R labels or parental advisor labels that were placed on CDs. That was really a big deal. It went all the way to like the Supreme Court and stuff like that, right? So there's always been times where society has decided that they want to try to protect children and put restrictions on things. And I don't see what's happening in terms of drag show being any different than that, because again, you could rap, but we're still going to put restrictions on and trying to protect children. So I mean, did we fail at it? Yes. I mean, eventually videos happened. Eventually, people found ways to get around, but the same type of message was still being told. But I just don't think at this point this is a personal attack on the community outside of people just saying, yeah, I just don't want to see or, kids be exposed to it. And as someone who does support the community, there are times that I'm feeling overwhelmed with how much it seems like it's kind of forced sometimes. It is what it is. I'm not naive. I'm not someone who does not, I believe kids when they are kindergartners are quite aware of the LGBTQ community. People are coming from different backgrounds and homes, and so we don't know what that is, right? Like these kids are coming to school with gay aunts, gay cousins, older cousins that they have that they see, right? So, or they themselves, their parent may be gay, right? So the exposure to knowing like what that life is and what's going on is already there, and there's nothing really like we can do about it. Like it just is what it is. Like somebody has an uncle that's gay, right? It may not be in your family, but it may be in the kid's family that your kid is friends with, right? So your kids are exposed to things, and for me, it's not about that being that naive and thinking that they're not, but I also don't think that we should participate in exposing them even further. Just let's let the kids be kids. And that's where I'm at. All right, so let's get into, was there anything else I wanted to say? Yes, I just want to say a no to something is not a no to everything. And don't let them trick you into thinking that just because you're saying no on this specific thing that you're trying to say no to who they are as a person. I think it's manipulative. I think it's sneaky. I know for me, it made me not want to communicate with them that much on Clubhouse, because if you're going to try to twist everything into making me seem hateful or anything like that, I'm just not going to talk to you, right? Because I should be allowed to have my difference of opinion without you trying to assign some like a malicious intent or hatred to it, right? We can agree to disagree, and this community lacks it I probably think the most, to be completely honest with you. I remember when I first got on there, that's what I was trying to tell. When I first got on there, I remember there was always this question: would you date a man that also dated trans girls in the past or something like that? And I said to them, I don't know. I'd have to be sure that I am what he wants, right? In terms of a cis hetero woman. And all of a sudden that got turned into, oh, what do you mean? You want to be sure that he's, what he's want. He wants to be with a woman, right? Because for them, it's like, okay, I'm a woman, this trans person is a woman, right? And that's fine if if that's how you view it. But at the same time, a lot of men, and this is more or less about the men than the trans girls, a lot of men are confused and not wanting to live their life fully out. And so for me, as a cis hetero woman, I feel as if though I want to make sure that it's not a situation, and I think the reference, because I don't know all the lingo within the community, is that I'm not a beard for somebody because they don't want to live fully out in their and be bisexual, right? They want to, they want to, they just want to have the appearance of being with a cis hetero woman, and would probably still really be attracted to trans girls and stuff like that. And that's, like I said, it's really not about the trans girls thing, but it's more or less making sure that someone is just not living truthfully. That's it. That's it. That's it. And that got me labeled all types of I don't like the gay community. I don't support them. No, I feel the same way. And I gave this example all the time. I said I feel the same way when a man dates me and he's like, "Oh, you're the first dark skinned girl I ever dated." Well, that doesn't really make me want to date you. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest, because I don't want to make sure that I'm not like some weird fetish for you, right? I also don't want to feel as if though. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I wouldn't want to make sure I'm just not some weird fetish for you. That's it. And that you are truly, truly attracted to me in a way that is, I don't know. Like, I just want to, I'd have reservations. That's all I'm saying. I'd had reservations. Because I feel like when it comes to attraction, I think we know what we're attracted to, right? So, I don't know. I would have reservations. I'm not saying I wouldn't date the person, but I would make sure. Like, if I dated you and then every girl, let's say you cheated on me, or let's say I caught you inappropriately, like looking at other women, and it's always light-skinned girls or something like that, I'm gonna feel some sort of way, because okay, nigga, you need to go be with what you like, right? Right? And I think it should speak to you the same way I think it would speak to me the same way if it was a man I was with and then I found out he cheated on me, and it's always with like a trans girl, or he's always, I catch him always liking on social media trans girls and stuff, like photos and stuff like that. I'm gonna feel like, nigga, you need to go ahead and be with what you like, period. Right? So that's basically what I'm trying to say. But let's get into the different types of drag shows. I didn't think it was gonna go here, but I think this is gonna be one video by itself. So I want to show you this other one first, because I thought it was like really funny and cute, because I do think it can be this innocent of an experience in terms of your kids going to see a drag show. I think you'll see more of this experience of this lady's taking her these two girls to the drag show. I think there's more of this than the other. I want to be completely honest, right? But I still think you address the other, because that's a problem. It's inappropriate.
With all the controversy surrounding children and drag queens these days, I thought I would go undercover and take our girls to a drag show and see what kind of horrible trauma they endure. So obviously I had to dress the part and go incognito. So I basically wore all this sparkly stuff, even my ears to match. I brought some dollar bills to throw their way. I thought that these people were protesting, and I was like, yes, get it. But they weren't, actually. If you want to get mad, this is the restaurant that we went to. It's in Oakville on Kerr Street. We met a friend there who was going to serve as an ally. We made sure to dress the girls up to match the part, because they had to really fit in as well. I had to have a drink to be able to get through it, because honestly, I wasn't even sure that I was going to be able to pull it off. Anyway, the first queen came out, and how dare she look like that? If I were to wear that outfit, it would definitely look good, but definitely not on her. Anyway, so the food was good, at least, because the show was kind of whack. I mean, look at this. Look at the moves. Look at everything. We had the girls give some tips, because obviously we had to immerse them in the whole experience so we could document the trauma afterward. The queens even brought them up to do like a special little dance competition with another little girl that was there. That poor little girl. And how dare they put sparkles on the girls, making them feel all sparkly and shiny and part of the show. Just not cool. So here they are getting ready for their dance competition. They did a dance to Baby Shark. Baby Shark is so like last year. And they danced around, but they will never get over this later. They'll carry this trauma with them their entire lives. They're the queen dancing around in a circle with them, giving them hugs, and even stealing flowers from our children. I mean, you can tell they hated it, so we'll definitely try church next Sunday instead.
So clearly she's being sarcastic, and she's showing like what an amazing time that her daughters or these girls had at the show. Which like I said, I do think this is more or less the experience. This is what I do think. I mean, I have no problem with what we just seen in terms of a drag show, right? So, but like I said, it's the lack of balance of talking to them sometimes where they don't want to acknowledge the other thing. So this is Care Raven. It says here the only time drag queens get provocative is at 18 plus shows, not gatherings catering to kids. Why'd you delete the tweet? Worried more people are gonna give you shit for equating drag with groomers. Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't even say this one. Okay. Please, you must fund more 18 plus in. Ooh, this is them replying. Oh, okay, so we got some drama. It's lit. Please, you must fund more 18 plus entertainment for children. It's the only way to stop the climate from changing. Tax me more personally. I'll pay you with my COVID social security card. We need more drag show for kids immediately. Ooh, when they be trying to front, this is what I'm saying. They like in that room I was in, they were salty because they were trying to downplay what people said they actually seen in like real fucking life. This is what we're seeing. We're seeing this in real fucking life. So when I'm in a room and the moderators are doing things like, people just have their personal issues in their real life and they just want to project through certain things and put their nasty thoughts on these kids and what's happening at these shows. Get you some help and stop projecting what you going through. And you sitting there like, what the fuck is you talking about? Ain't nobody got no drag situation in their real motherfucking life. Or we're talking about a social issue that we're trying to address in terms of like what's wrong. Like why is everything gets turned into this deep, deep as therapy needing projection that section. Do people even know what projection is? Like, do people really know what projection is? I really, at this point, don't think they know. Like, I just literally had to get this kid together on Clubhouse. He's just not smart at all. And he talks about, like, all these universities he's go to, but he never makes a lick of sense at all. Never makes a lick of sense. And he always try to insult people by saying, people be in these rooms projecting. But then every time like he speaks, he would like give these like anecdotal like responses to like answers that people were talking about, like in terms of like politics or just like social issues. And it's always his anecdotal experiences. And I'm like, you literally know from listening to him, he has no idea what projection is about. Because usually that's what projection is. Right? Literally, you're going through something and you can't see past what you're going through, and everything that you talk about centers around what you're going through, and your understanding of people is just really based off just your personal experiences and that you've had throughout life. That's projection, right? So when we're in a room and all he does is talk about, I've never, I haven't seen this. This is not real. And I in my life, you're projecting, right? Because we have people who are speaking to statistics that are speaking to their own experience on what they've been able to see, and you're still trying to fight back with your own personal shit. That's projection, right? Right, so when I'm in this Clubhouse room and I'm pushing back about like how people feel about this, how could I possibly be projecting? Like that's weird. That's weird because I don't have a stance I'm against the gay community. So that's really weird. But it's the bullshit. It's somebody. I feel like some people know a little bit about like mental health and stuff like that, and they just really try to interject it and be shady with it. And that's why for me, the Black community is not a safe place when it comes to mental health. I feel like people, it's not a safe place as much as people want to say, oh, we have to be more understanding of people and their issues and stuff. I don't think it's a safe place because the way people would try to weaponize it against you and use it against you is so freaking harmful, but people fail to, people want to act like they don't do that to other people, right? Because I think people care about what they care about, right? In terms of mental health and what people have gone through, like either you can resonate with it or you can relate to it and stuff like that, so then you care. But then if it's somebody that you don't like and they're going through it, you kind of weaponize it against them and you don't give it any type of care of understanding, no empathy and compassion. That's why I say when it comes to like that empathy and compassion stuff, it's each his own. Like everybody cares what they care about, and I'm same way here. So I'll own mine. I'm just a little bit more honest about it. But let's get back to this. Where I was in the room and they were trying to tell me that this wasn't happening, and I was, people are projecting. I mean, I'm projecting like how? You can tell me what you think, and I'm telling you what I see. There's no sound. The original sound probably had music or something that can't be played. But this is happening. Y'all see these kids? These kids. Where is this appropriate with just like in the cis hetero community? Like, where is this appropriate? I've been solidly this way since like little girls were doing the crybaby on the dance floor in the 90s. Like, listen, I was that kid, and my mom would tell you, she was like, "Why you get up there and dance like them?" Because I don't want to dance like them. I didn't think it was. I didn't want to do that. I always thought it was like, no, I didn't want to do that. It was inappropriate when I was a kid. Now, like. But that was a thing, doing the butterfly, doing the wine, doing the TikTok, and all the other stuff. Kids was doing that back then. And I wasn't, though. But, again, inappropriate. And there are some communities. This is just crazy. All right, so let's see what the comments have to say in this one. Or maybe they turned off the comments. Because folks do turn off comments. Yeah, they turned off the comments on this one, so there's no real comment. And no comments. All right, so let's go back. So this was our good example. Here's another example of drag shows that I was, I had playing in the background so you guys could see it. Like where are we going to do this at in the cis hetero community? Like, when did we do, like, have we did, like, field trips to strip clubs? Like, do we have, like, stage, musical stage plays of Fridays and Dimey and Trixie is, telling you how, use what you got to get what you want? Do we have, like, stage plays like that for kids or something like that? Or are we doing any of things like that? I'm confused, like, where they see this at in, like, society. Like, where? Because we got to be, like, that honest with it. And then when you know the culture, you know the references. Like, there's nothing within the cis hetero community that we promote in saying that's correct. As much as I can say about the inappropriate dancing, it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. Like, where are we taking our kids to learn pole dancing at a young age, and we're promoting that? I'm just curious. I'm just curious. I'm just going to throw some things out there for we can just try to make sense of it all. So, now this seems to be a good drag show. Let's see. We don't need, okay, I mean, the girl is touching her, but she's trying to touch that sparkly dress. So, okay, so this person has a problem with what's being done. Oh, what is that for? Okay, that wasn't too bad, but I'm just, why? 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 Okay. I mean, the kids giving them money is not a bad thing to me. I mean, we give money to people singing on the streets and stuff like that. So they are most definitely performing. So that doesn't bother me. Let me see. What is going on here? Oh, wow. There's kids. So to bring this up and say what I've seen is me projecting. It's me projecting, right? When I bring this up and talk about these things, I'm somehow projecting about what's going on in my life onto something that is pure and innocent across the board. Okay. That's crazy. All right. Let's see here. Wow. Drag queens Harlot Hussey performs for children at all ages pride event in Waco, Texas. Texas, I don't expect much from you, but I expect... Oh, okay. All right. Get it, girl. Get it, girl. Okay. What about this is inappropriate? What about, oh my God. So when you're supposed to be bringing your kids to Disney on Ice, like I see nothing like this at Disney on Ice, right? Like since we're talking about like as though there is uh, you know, something happening in the straight community that's just as equal as this. Disney on Ice ain't this ain't it. They ain't doing this. All right, y'all. So that's all I got on this. This shit was crazy. Let me see if there's anything else on the timeline. But that's my thoughts and opinions on this. Like like I said, I'm a supporter. Will continue to support all types of rights and stuff like that. But when it comes to certain things like this, I most definitely feel as though you have the right to speak out and speak against, and you not be deemed some type of hateful as person that's against the entire community for giving them one no or two no's on certain things. Because it's a no on the pronoun things for me too in real life. So people are not at their grandmother's and their auntie's house like, oh, me, she, her, they, them. That's not real. That's not real. It's not real at all. And it's weird that we get online or we get in social media spaces and we act like that's a real thing. That's never been a real thing. Somehow trying to equate this kid having fun at Mardi Gras is not the same thing. So kids at Mardi Gras with fake boob shirts are okay, but not child-friendly drag shows? Okay. Yeah, it is most definitely okay. Most definitely. Yeah, sorry. It is okay. I mean, that's within their culture in terms of boobs, and everybody knows what that's from. That's not the same thing. Those kids are just having fun. As you know, boobs. The kids know about boobs. I don't know. I see that as fun. I don't see these grown ass men in costumes and sexually. Is it's fun. Like I don't. That doesn't seem like innocent fun to me. So it is what it is. And then there's always this conversation around Hooters in terms of being the same way. But again, this is a personal choice if you decide to bring, and that's what people keep on forgetting, right? To have this conversation, we're talking about it's a personal choice to bring your kids to Hooters, as much as, I may deem it inappropriate, but on a regular day in the summer, depending on where you at, on a regular day in the summer, girls are walking around in those shorts. Right? There's some level of exposure that is culturally accepted when you go to the beach and, men are walking around with no shirt on. That's culturally accepted, but there's nothing sexual about that, right? In terms of and it's appropriate because where you're at, the beach, right? Like, there was another example that they used. They used men playing in shorts. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, I'm sorry. They brought up gymnasts too. Like they brought the leotard one piece suits that the gymnasts wear. Again, there's no sexual dancing, and there's context, and there's all of that. That's not centered around being sexual in any type of way, right? And they're still covered, right? Their legs are the only thing that are really out in terms of gymnasts. Like even when you talk about like skaters and female skaters and stuff like that, like when they're doing the Olympics and stuff, they're still covered. They're still covered. Like say what you want, they're still covered. This is not what we've seen up and down this timeline that I've showed y'all. That's not what's been going on, right? So I don't know. I just think people are just extremely dishonest. But there are some things that are just socially acceptable. And I think, if you think about that example of the beach, or even if you're thinking about men playing basketball, men ain't wore short shorts playing basketball since like the 70s, right? So that's not even like a real thing. But again, basketball is playing a game that there's no sexualization happening there. So no, it's not the same thing. But again, this falls into social norms and it's just a part of life. And that's what this is. All right, that's all I got. Y'all be bougie SF, black SF, posh SF. Y'all have a great day, y'all. I am out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe also.